Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 171 here on season number 2. And today we are getting into, can I make a living on Acorns? So these videos are meant for educational purposes only and not meant to be taken as financial advice. You are responsible for your assets and to properly protect them. So always, please, do your own research. I mean, personally, I'm not sure if I've already addressed this question. I know that I addressed this, probably a similar question, which was, can you make a living using only stash? Which I'll link up in the corner right up here. But this question comes from Juan, Puablo. Hopefully I say your last name right. If I didn't, my bad. Like, my apologies. Anyways, he asked, can I make good money with Acorns? I mean, like $2,000 per month or more. I'm trying to learn how to trade options, paper trading, but it's like trying to learn Chinese. I would say that you have the potential to make more money probably trading options. However, you have also a lot more risk. I don't touch trading options. I don't understand them, and I haven't really looked into them or read any books about it. So for me, like, option trading is just not something I do. I'm sure that it's a possibility to definitely make a living or make good money using Acorns. Like, you could make good money investing in the stock market in general. So Acorns is basically an app that exposes you to investments that are in the stock market via ETFs, exchange traded funds. It's a possibility. However, I think that the reality is that it would require a pretty large account, which, I mean, to break down the math, you figure that $2,000 a month, you're looking at a annual return of $24,000 at least, if not more, like you were saying. The safest approach to making that income through Acorns would be to use like their conservative portfolio mix, which would be about 80% exposed into bonds and 20% exposed into equities, ETFs, REITs, that kind of thing. By exposing yourself to this conservative portfolio, you're going to have a lot less volatility, because there's, like I was saying, there's more exposure into bonds. But like, trying to make an income on that conservative account is going to require a lot more than you would need for, like, say, the aggressive account, because you're not going to get as much in returns as far as like growth. However, on the opposite side, like I was just saying, there is an account called the aggressive portfolio, which exposes you solely into like equities and REITs and does not include any bonds into that specific portfolio. This portfolio could require a substantial amount less than the conservative account, and you'll kind of see some of the numbers that I had in mind when I went through and like ran some more numbers to get like that $24,000 return every single year. My thoughts with like the aggressive portfolio is that you would obviously have to include the dividends plus the growth that you had on that account. So say you had an account that was like maybe $100,000, say it grew $24,000 that 1 year, like you would have to include that $24,000 of growth in the actual account. You couldn't just be like, well, I'm only going to use dividends and that kind of thing. So growth is something that would have to be considered as far as like a return or making good money with Acorns. Kind of like turn our eyes to more of the nitty gritty kind of stuff. Remember that all these numbers are hypothetical and that the market can, I guess, perform adversely to the way it has in the past, that my assumptions basically could be false because the market, like I said, moving into the future could be different than the way it has been in the past, like 100 years. However, let's say on average that like the aggressive portfolio does like maybe 10% year over year. That's typically what the S&P 500 does. I mean, that's on average. So it could be more, it could be less. You could have a negative year. You could have a year where you do 20%. So there is that kind of like variation as far as like growth goes with investing into equities. Basically, with like a 10% growth, a person would need about an account that's $240,000, basically allowing for you to get 10% year over year, leaving you with like $24,000 each year. However, if you go and take into consideration this thing called inflation and also taxes, then the account would need to be quite a bit bigger to account for both of those as well. I didn't personally run the numbers with inflation and then also taxes. On the conservative account, however, if you're only like accounting for distributions from the bonds in the form of like dividends, and then also the small amount of growth that you would get on an account, if you had an account at $750,000, capturing the dividends or payments from those bond funds, and as well as all the other dividends that would come from that account, would be around $17,000 per year. And then obviously the rest of the money would have to come from those growth stocks, the growth ETFs that are in that account as well, which would only make up about 20% of your account. So in essence, you might need a little bit larger account than a $750,000 account. I guess to be more like realistic, the idea of having an account that this size probably seems like an impossibility to most people that are using Acorns. However, the idea of making those deposits and growing that account by the time that you are, say, like 50 years old or 60 years old, definitely could become a reality if the market continues to climb like it has and you continue to invest an appropriate amount to get to that level based upon compounding and then also growth and then also the money that you've invested. From what I've seen personally is that it typically takes a young person an entire lifetime to basically amass an account that would be $250,000, $750,000 at large, and then they would have obviously the ability to live off that. However, for most people at this point in time, I don't think that that's reality, but it could potentially become reality if the market continues to grow, and then also as those regular deposits continue to be made and the compounding starts to take effect. I hope that kind of explains a little bit better how much money a person would need to, like, maybe at most make $2,000 a month on Acorns, and if not, by investing more into like a conservative portfolio in order to make that $2,000 a month. So I'll go ahead and leave right there. Like I was saying, if you got any questions, feel free to post them down below in regards to that question. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into the question of the day, which is, what are you so terrible at that you've given up ever doing it again? For me, when it comes down to it, it is literally like drawing pictures. I am so bad at it, like I will never do it at all. I literally cannot draw a dog. Like my dog looks like a stick figure that came from like planet Mars or something like that. Like I cannot draw with a pencil and paper to save my life. My face looks like a clown. Like it's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And so I never have been good at it. Like I literally, like I remember like when I was like 10 years old or something like that, I remember getting this like comic, help draw comics and that kind of thing. And I remember trying to actually do it, and I was like, yep, I stink at this. And then at that point I realized, like, I'll doodle in class throughout high school, throughout college, but I never expect anything good to come out of this. Like it's literally just to maybe distract myself from what the professor or teacher is saying, so that way I can pass time. And hey, my buddy that's sitting next to me, we can't play like tic-tac-toe right now because the teacher is breathing down our neck. So that's kind of where I left it as far as drawing goes. However, graphic design on the computer, I would say, is a different story. It's a lot easier for me because there is like the computer aspect, and so you can have that perfect kind of setup. So it's a little bit easier for me to draw things on the computer by using different things. I definitely, if I had to use a pen, like I would not be good. So I just leave it right there. Anyways, like I was saying, if you got a question regarding Stash, Acorns, Robinhood, as well as general investing, business, Etsy, coaching, and One Finance, please post those questions down below. Don't forget to subscribe right here. Check out these two videos right here and the link. And as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.